Captain Lee Tae-ho sat in the cold metal chair and felt the strange energy waves washing over his body like invisible water. The alien room around him pulsed with soft blue light that seemed to come from the walls themselves. He could not move his arms or legs because of the energy field that held him in place, but his mind stayed clear and sharp. 3 massive creatures stood before him in the circular chamber. Their skin looked like dark gray leather and their eyes glowed with yellow light. The tallest one had 4 arms and wore something that looked like armor made from black crystal. This was Vexatar, and he spoke for the ruling council of the hegemony. The hegemony had ruled this part of space for thousands of years. 12 different alien species worked together under their command, and they had never met humans before. When Earth finally built ships that could travel faster than light 3 months ago, the first thing that happened was meeting these aliens. It should have been a good day for humanity. Instead, it became very complicated very fast. Vextar moved closer to the chair where Lee Tae-ho sat trapped. The alien's voice came from a device on his chest that turned his words into English, but the sounds still felt strange and wrong. Human. Captain, we have studied your military records. Your species claims you are peaceful, but your files tell a different story. You personally have killed more beings than any warrior in hegemony history. This number concerns us greatly. Lee Tae-ho tried to understand what the alien meant. He had been a soldier for 15 years before retiring to civilian life. He had served in special operations and done his duty during several conflicts, but he never thought of himself as some kind of super warrior. I served my country and followed orders. I did what was necessary during wartime. The second alien stepped forward. This one was shorter and had 6 arms. Strange patterns of light moved across its skin like living tattoos. This was Quinn Ara, and she worked as a military strategist for the hegemony. Your modesty does not match your record, Captain. The files we obtained from your government show a kill count that defies our understanding of individual combat capability. Even our greatest champions, who have lived for centuries and fought in dozens of planetary wars, have never achieved such numbers. Lee Tae-ho felt confused and worried. He had never thought about counting how many enemies he might have killed during his military service. Soldiers did not usually keep track of such things in the human military. They focused on completing missions and protecting their fellow soldiers. The third alien remained in the shadows at the edge of the room. This one looked older than the others and moved very slowly. Ancient scars covered its body, and its eyes held the weight of many battles. This was Mordesh, and the other aliens treated him with great respect. Far away from the alien ship, 2 humans watched everything through a communication link. Dr. Park Minji stood in the observation room of the human diplomatic vessel, feeling helpless and angry. She specialized in studying alien life and had been chosen to help with first contact protocols. Commander. Kim Do-woo paced back and forth behind her. His uniform showed the ranks and medals of the Earth Defense Force. He had worked with Lee Tae-ho many times during their military careers and knew him as a good soldier but not some kind of killing machine. This is madness, Minji. Tae-ho is tough and skilled, but these aliens are talking about him like he is some kind of monster. His actual combat record is classified, but I know enough to say they are completely wrong about what kind of person he is. Dr. Park Minji watched the interrogation through the screen and felt worried about what might happen next. The aliens seemed truly afraid of something, and that fear could lead to very bad decisions for all of humanity. Do-woo. The problem is we do not understand how they think about warfare or what they mean when they ask about kill counts. Their translation systems might be causing confusion, or they could have different ideas about what makes someone dangerous. Back in the interrogation, Chamber Vextar activated more of the alien technology. The blue light grew brighter, and Lee Tae-ho felt the energy waves becoming stronger. His thoughts became harder to control, and he knew the aliens were using some kind of truth detection system. Captain, we will ask you directly, and our systems will verify your honesty. What is your personal kill count from your years of military service? Lee Tae-ho tried to think about the question carefully. The alien technology made it hard to avoid answering, but he wanted to give accurate information. During his 15 years in the military, he had served in many different roles and locations. Some involved direct combat, but others were support, duties, or training assignments. The strangest part was how the aliens seemed to know things about his service record that even he had forgotten. Their files contained details about every base where he had worked and every mission he had completed. Somehow, they had gathered incredibly detailed information about his entire military career. Quinara moved to a control panel covered in symbols that glowed and shifted like living things. She began entering commands, and the air around Lee Tae-ho started to hum with power. "Our truth extraction technology has never failed, Captain. It works on all 12 species in the hegemony and can detect lies or deception instantly. Your brain. Chemistry will change if you attempt to give false information." Lee Tae-ho felt the pressure building in his mind. The alien device was forcing him to think about his answer very carefully. He tried to remember everything he had done during his military service that might count as taking a life. There had been combat missions where enemy soldiers were killed, but those were usually team efforts where many people fired weapons at the same time. It was impossible to know exactly who had killed whom during most firefights. There had been special operations where he worked alone or with small teams. Some of those missions involved eliminating specific targets, but again, the numbers were not very high. There had been peacekeeping duties and base security work where violence sometimes occurred, but most problems were solved without anyone dying. The more he thought about it, the more confused Lee Tae-ho became. His actual kill count from direct combat was probably much lower than these aliens seemed to expect. Maybe they had confused him with someone else or made mistakes when studying human military records. Mordesh finally spoke from the shadows. His voice was deep and rough like grinding stone. "Young Captain, your confusion interests me greatly. In our culture, warriors count every kill and remember each enemy they have defeated. This is how we measure honor and skill in battle. You seem uncertain about your own achievements, which suggests either great humility or deception." Lee Tae-ho tried to explain his uncertainty, but the alien technology was making it very difficult to organize his thoughts clearly. In human military culture, we focus on mission success rather than individual kill counts. Most combat happens so fast and involves so many people that exact numbers become meaningless. We fight to protect others and complete objectives, not to build personal glory. Vexitar exchanged looks with the other aliens, and Lee Tae-ho could sense their growing concern. Something about his answers was making them more worried rather than less. The interrogation continued for several more hours with the aliens asking detailed questions about human military tactics and weapons. They seemed particularly interested in learning about Earth's most dangerous weapons and whether humans had technology that could threaten entire planets. Lee Tae-ho answered as honestly as possible while trying not to reveal information that might put Earth in danger. The alien truth detection system made lying impossible, but he could still be careful about which details he shared. As the session finally ended, Vextar gave orders to increase security around the human diplomatic vessel. The aliens were clearly planning something, and Lee Tae-ho feared his answers had made the situation much worse for all of humanity. The alien truth extraction device reached full power, and Lee Tae-ho felt his mind becoming completely open. Every thought and memory became clear and impossible to hide. The blue energy surrounded his head like a glowing helmet, and Vextar leaned forward with intense interest. "Captain, you will now answer with complete honesty. What is the exact number of beings you have personally killed during your military service?" Lee Tae-ho tried to resist, but the alien technology made deception impossible. His mind automatically began counting every life his actions had ended during 15 years of military service. The numbers started small, with direct combat kills, but then expanded to include everything else his duties had involved. The calculation took several minutes as his brain was forced to recall every detail of his service record. Base maintenance duties, facility cleaning, pest control operations, sanitation work, and countless other tasks that had been part of military life. Finally, the words came out of his mouth without his conscious control. 847,293,156. The chamber fell completely silent. Vextar stepped backward as if he had been physically struck. Quinara dropped the data tablet she had been holding, and it clattered on the floor with a metallic sound that echoed through the room. Mordesh emerged from the shadows with his ancient scarred face showing complete shock. In 600 years of warfare across dozens of star systems, he had achieved a kill count of 47,832. That number made him the most feared warrior in hegemony history. Impossible, whispered Quinara. No single being could achieve such numbers through conventional warfare. The mathematics do not work. She rushed to her control panel and began entering commands frantically. Holographic displays filled the air around them, showing complex calculations and battle simulations. To reach 800 million kills through standard combat, this human would need to eliminate 23,000 beings every single day for 100 years without rest or resupply. Even using our most advanced weapons and fighting the weakest possible enemies, such numbers are impossible. Vexitar activated his communication device and spoke rapidly in the clicking language of his species. Within minutes, alarms began sounding throughout the massive alien ship. Emergency lights bathed the corridors in red, and the crew moved to battle stations. On the human diplomatic vessel, Dr. Park Min-ji and Commander Kim Do-woo watched their screens in growing alarm as the alien ship prepared for what looked like immediate combat. Min-ji, they are powering weapons and targeting systems. Something went very wrong during that interrogation. We need to contact Earth Command immediately and warn them about a possible attack. Dr. Park Min-ji tried to understand what could have happened to cause such a dramatic reaction from the aliens. Lee Tae-ho was a good soldier, but nothing in his record suggested he was capable of the kind of mass destruction that might frighten an advanced alien civilization. Do-woo, there has to be some kind of misunderstanding. Maybe their translation systems are not working properly, or they are interpreting his answers in the wrong way. Tae-ho is not a monster. The Hegemony Ruling Council convened an emergency session that included representatives from all 12 member species. The council chamber was a vast space filled with different types of aliens who rarely agreed on anything. Today they all shared the same expression of shock and fear. The warrior caste representatives demanded immediate action against Earth. They argued that any species capable of producing such efficient killers posed an existential threat to the entire hegemony. Better to destroy humanity now before they could develop more advanced weapons or spread throughout the galaxy. The scientist caste wanted more information before making any decisions. They suggested that the human might be lying somehow or that their truth detection systems had malfunctioned. Such high kill counts seemed to violate basic physics and biology. The diplomat caste tried to find middle ground, but even they were shaken by the implications of Lee Tae-ho's confession. If one human soldier could eliminate nearly 1 billion beings, then what could their entire military accomplish? Back in the interrogation chamber, Quinara continued running calculations and battle simulations. Every analysis reached the same impossible conclusion. No known warrior could achieve such numbers using conventional weapons and tactics. Vexitar, we must consider that this human represents a type of warfare completely unknown to us. Perhaps their species has developed biological weapons or nanotechnology that allows for mass killing on an unprecedented scale. Lee Tae-ho remained trapped in the energy field, but could sense the growing panic around him. The aliens seemed genuinely terrified of his answer, but he could not understand why. The number had come from somewhere deep in his memory, but he could not remember how. He had calculated it. Mordesh approached the chair where the human sat immobilized. The ancient warrior studied Lee Tae-ho's face carefully, looking for signs of deception or madness. Human, your kill count exceeds that of entire planetary invasions. In my long life, I have seen civilizations fall and watched billions die in great wars. Yet you claim to have personally ended more lives than most species lose in centuries of conflict. Lee Tae-ho tried to explain that he did not understand the number himself, but the truth extraction device made complex explanations very difficult. His thoughts kept getting pulled back to simple, direct answers. I served 15 years in various assignments. Some involved combat, but most were routine military duties. I never kept count of kills because that was not important in human military culture. The contradiction between his modest description and his enormous kill count only made the aliens more suspicious. Quinara began analyzing human military structure and tactics based on the data they had gathered from Earth's computer networks. If this human is typical of their species, then Earth's military might be capable of destroying entire star systems. We have records of human conflicts that seemed small by our standards, but perhaps we misunderstood their true scope. New holographic displays showed Earth's military history with emphasis on casualty numbers and weapons technology. The aliens tried to find evidence of the massive destructive capability that Lee Tae-ho's kill count suggested. Instead, they found something that confused them even more. Human wars were frequent but relatively small in scale compared to typical hegemony conflicts. The largest battles in Earth's history involved hundreds of thousands of casualties, not millions or billions. Vextar studied the data with growing puzzlement. Either humans were incredibly good at hiding their true military capabilities, or something fundamental was wrong with their analysis. This makes no sense at all. Their historical records show limited warfare with primitive weapons. Yet this single human claims a kill count that would require advanced technology and massive military campaigns. The interrogation session continued, with the aliens asking increasingly detailed questions about human weapons and tactics. They wanted to understand how Lee Tae-ho had achieved his impossible numbers and what threats Earth might pose to the hegemony. Lee Tae-ho answered as honestly as possible while trying not to reveal classified information. He described standard military equipment and basic tactics, but nothing that seemed capable of the mass destruction the aliens feared. His answers only increased their confusion and concern. If human weapons were as limited as he claimed, then his kill count made even less sense. The contradiction suggested either advanced deception capabilities or military secrets beyond their understanding. As the hours passed, the aliens became more agitated and paranoid. Emergency meetings filled their schedule as military commanders and civilian leaders tried to decide how to respond to this unprecedented threat. Some proposed immediate evacuation of all hegemony forces from human space. Others wanted to gather more information before making such drastic decisions. A few extremists suggested using their most powerful weapons to destroy Earth before humanity could spread throughout the galaxy. The debate raged on, while Lee Tae-ho remained trapped in the interrogation chamber. He could sense the fear and confusion around him, but had no way to explain the misunderstanding that was driving the aliens toward panic. Dr. Park Min-ji worked frantically to establish communication with the hegemony leadership. She hoped to arrange a diplomatic meeting that might resolve whatever crisis had emerged from the interrogation. Commander Kim Do-woo prepared the human vessel for possible combat while sending urgent messages to Earth Command. If the aliens decided to attack, there would be little the small diplomatic ship could do except try to warn humanity about the threat. The situation continued to deteriorate as both sides struggled to understand what had gone so terribly wrong during what should have been a routine exchange of information. The Hegemony Council made their decision after 12 hours of heated debate. They would dispatch research teams to Earth immediately to investigate human military capabilities and find evidence to explain Lee Tae-ho's impossible kill count. Vextar commanded 3 advanced scout ships that entered Earth's solar system within hours of leaving the mothership. Each vessel carried teams of scientists and military analysts equipped with the most sophisticated scanning technology available to the hegemony. The aliens expected to find a planet covered in battlefields and weapons factories. They anticipated discovering evidence of biological warfare, nanotechnology weapons, or other advanced systems that could explain how humans achieved such efficient mass killing. Instead, they found something that confused them even more than Lee Tae-ho's confession. Earth appeared to be a peaceful world with limited military infrastructure. The human population lived in cities and towns that showed no signs of the constant warfare that should have produced such experienced killers. Their technology seemed primitive compared to hegemony standards. The lead research vessel positioned itself in orbit around Earth and began deep scanning operations. Every military base, weapons facility, and government installation came under intense scrutiny as the aliens searched for hidden threats. Vextar, this makes no sense at all, reported the chief science officer through the communication system. Human military forces are distributed across their planet in relatively small numbers. Their weapons technology is crude but functional. We see no evidence of the advanced killing systems that would be necessary to achieve the numbers reported by their captain. Quinara had remained aboard the mothership to continue analyzing the data from Lee Tae-ho's interrogation. She had become completely obsessed with solving the puzzle of his kill count and spent every waking moment running calculations and reviewing military histories. Her analysis of human warfare showed conflicts that were frequent but limited in scope. Even the largest wars in Earth's history had produced casualties in the millions, not the hundreds of millions, that would be needed to train soldiers like Lee Tae-ho. "There has to be something we are missing," she muttered, while studying holographic displays of human military structure. No species develops such efficient individual killers without massive conflicts to provide training and experience. The research teams on Earth began gathering samples and studying human military equipment directly. They analyzed weapons, armor, vehicles, and communication systems, looking for advanced technology that might be hidden beneath primitive appearances. Everything they found confirmed that human military capability was exactly what it appeared to be: solid but unremarkable technology operated by soldiers who seemed competent but not superhuman. Dr. Park Min-ji had finally managed to establish limited communication with the hegemony leadership through diplomatic channels. She requested permission to speak directly with Lee Tae-ho, believing she might be able to resolve the growing crisis. Her requests were denied repeatedly as the aliens continued their investigation. They feared that allowing human contact might compromise their fact-finding mission or provide opportunities for deception. Commander Kim Do-woo monitored the alien scout ships as they moved through Earth's solar system, conducting their research. Their scanning activities were clearly visible to human satellites and military sensors, but Earth's governments had been warned to avoid any actions that might be seen as threatening. "Min-ji, they are looking for something specific, but I cannot figure out what it might be. Their scans are incredibly detailed, and they seem particularly interested in military installations and weapons research facilities." Dr. Park Min-ji had been studying everything she could find about Lee Tae-ho's military service record. As a civilian, she did not have access to classified information, but she could review his basic career timeline and duty assignments. Something about his service history struck her as unusual, but she could not identify exactly what it was. He had served in many different locations and performed various types of military duties over his 15-year career. On the hegemony mothership, Lee Tae-ho endured additional interrogation sessions as the aliens tried to extract more details about his impossible kill count. The truth extraction technology forced him to recall memories and experiences with perfect clarity, but somehow the explanations never satisfied his captors. "Captain, you served at 17 different military installations during your career. Which of these locations provided the training and experience necessary to achieve your kill count?" demanded Vextar during one particularly intense session. Lee Tae-ho found his mind automatically reviewing each assignment and trying to remember the specific duties he had performed. Most of his military service had involved routine work that seemed completely unrelated to combat operations. "I worked in supply logistics, base maintenance, communications, training support, and facility operations. Combat assignments were only a small part of my total service time." The aliens exchanged worried glances as they heard this answer. If Lee Tae-ho had achieved his kill count while performing routine support duties, then human military efficiency was even more frightening than they had imagined. Mordesh stepped forward from his usual position in the shadows. The ancient warrior had been thinking about the contradiction between Lee Tae-ho's modest service record and his astronomical kill count. "Young human, perhaps you are not counting your kills in the same way that we do." In hegemony culture, each warrior personally tracks every enemy they defeat in battle. This creates an exact number that represents their individual skill and experience. Lee Tae-ho tried to understand what the alien meant by personal tracking of kills. In human military culture, soldiers focused on mission objectives rather than individual statistics. Human soldiers do not usually count personal kills because most combat involves team operations where exact individual contributions cannot be measured. We focus on completing missions and protecting fellow soldiers. This answer only increased the aliens' confusion and concern. If humans could achieve such massive kill counts without even trying to track their individual achievements, then their natural combat ability must be truly extraordinary. The research teams on Earth continued their investigation, but found nothing that explained the mystery. Human military technology and tactics appeared conventional by hegemony standards. There were no secret weapons or hidden capabilities that might account for Lee Tae-ho's numbers. Quinara began expanding her analysis to include human civilian activities and technology. Perhaps the explanation lay outside traditional military systems in areas the hegemony had not considered. She studied human industrial capabilities, medical technology, agricultural systems, and urban infrastructure looking for anything that might be relevant to mass killing on the scale Lee Tae-ho had claimed. The data showed a technologically advanced civilization that seemed primarily focused on peaceful development and economic growth. There were military forces, but they appeared to be defensive in nature and limited in size compared to the human population. Vextar, I am beginning to suspect that we fundamentally misunderstand something about human nature or military culture. Their civilization shows no evidence of the constant warfare that would be necessary to produce warriors like Captain Lee Tae-ho. Back on Earth, Dr. Park Min-ji had finally identified what bothered her about Lee Tae-ho's service record. He had spent significant time working in support roles that involved facility maintenance and base operations rather than direct combat duties. She began researching exactly what those assignments might have involved and whether there could be any connection to the aliens' questions about kill counts. Her investigation led her into areas of military operations that civilians rarely considered. Base maintenance involved many different activities, including cleaning, sanitation, pest control, equipment repair, and facility security. Some of these duties might involve ending life forms, but not in ways that anyone would normally consider military kills. The more she thought about it, the more Dr. Park Min-ji suspected there might be a fundamental misunderstanding about what the aliens meant when they asked about kill counts and what Lee Tae-ho might have included in his answer. She submitted another request to speak with Lee Tae-ho, directly emphasizing that she might have found the key to resolving the crisis. This time, her message included enough detail about her theory to convince the hegemony leadership to consider her request. Vexatar reviewed her communication and decided that allowing the conversation might provide valuable information about human, military culture, and the mystery of Lee Tae-ho's kill count. The stage was set for a revelation that would change everything the aliens thought they knew about humanity and warfare. Dr. Park Min-ji stood in the communication chamber aboard the human diplomatic vessel, feeling nervous but determined. After 3 days of requests, she had finally been granted permission to speak with Lee Tae-ho directly while the entire hegemony council monitored their conversation. The holographic display showed Lee Tae-ho sitting in the alien interrogation chair, looking tired but alert. Behind him, she could see the 3 alien interrogators who had been questioning him for days without finding satisfactory answers to their questions. Tae-ho, I think there has been a serious misunderstanding about what the aliens are asking you. When they ask for your kill count, what exactly are you including in your answer? Lee Tae-ho looked confused by the question, but the alien truth detection technology forced him to think carefully about his response. Min-ji, they asked about lives I had taken during military service, so I included everything. Combat kills, training accidents that resulted in deaths, and all the other duties where my actions ended life forms. Dr. Park Min-ji felt her heart racing as she realized her theory was correct. The aliens were asking about sentient beings killed in combat, while Lee Tae-ho was including every living organism his actions had affected during 15 years of military service. Tae-ho, when you calculated that number, did you include microorganisms, bacteria, insects, and other small life forms that died because of your duties? The question hit Lee Tae-ho like a lightning bolt, and suddenly everything became clear. The alien truth detection system had forced him to include every life form without distinguishing between sentient beings and microscopic organisms. Yes, I included everything. All the bacteria killed by disinfectants I used during facility cleaning, every insect eliminated by pesticides I sprayed for base maintenance, all the microorganisms destroyed by sterilization procedures I performed. The alien interrogation chamber fell completely silent as the implications of this revelation sank in. Vextar stepped backward with his 4 arms trembling. Quinara dropped to her knees as if her legs could no longer support her weight. Mordesh emerged from the shadows with an expression of pure terror on his ancient scarred face. In 600 years of warfare, he had never encountered anything that frightened him as much as this simple explanation. Impossible, whispered Vextar. No species casually eliminates hundreds of millions of life forms as part of routine maintenance activities. Such numbers suggest a level of environmental control that defies our understanding of biology. Dr. Park Min-ji continued her explanation, hoping to help the aliens understand the cultural context of Lee Tae-ho's answer. In human military culture, base maintenance includes sanitation and pest control as standard operating procedures. Soldiers use cleaning chemicals and pesticides to maintain healthy living conditions, without thinking about the microscopic life forms they eliminate. The revelation did not calm the aliens as she had hoped. Instead, their fear seemed to grow even stronger as they processed the implications of what she was telling them. Quinara managed to stand up and stumbled to her control panel with shaking hands. She began entering commands to analyze the new information while muttering calculations under her breath. If humans routinely eliminate nearly 1 billion life forms through basic facility maintenance, then their entire civilization represents a weapon of mass destruction on a scale we never imagined possible. The Hegemony Council erupted into chaos, as representatives from 12 different species tried to process this information simultaneously. Some demanded immediate evacuation from human space, while others called for military action before humanity could spread throughout the galaxy. The scientist caste began calculating what would happen if humans established colonies on other worlds. Every human facility would become a zone of massive biological destruction, where countless native life forms would die simply from human presence. The warrior caste found themselves facing an enemy they could not understand or fight. How do you combat a species that wins through casual environmental dominance rather than intentional violence? The diplomat caste realized that traditional negotiation might be impossible with beings who could commit genocide without even being aware they were doing it. Lee Tae-ho watched the alien reactions with growing concern. His explanation had not resolved the crisis as Dr. Park Min-ji hoped. Instead, the aliens seemed more terrified than ever. I do not understand why this frightens you so much. Pest control and sanitation are normal activities for any advanced civilization. We maintain clean environments to protect health and prevent disease. Vextar turned to face him with yellow eyes that glowed with fear and something approaching reverence. Captain, you speak of eliminating nearly 1 billion life forms as if it were a minor detail. Your species creates environments so hostile to native organisms that existence itself becomes impossible for anything you do not specifically want around you. Mordesh spoke in his deep, grinding voice that now carried notes of wonder and terror. In my long life, I have seen planets burned by weapons that destroyed every living thing on their surface. I have watched civilizations fall and billions die in great wars. Yet none of those conflicts achieved the scale of casual destruction that you describe as routine maintenance. Dr. Park Min-ji tried to explain that humans did not see microscopic organisms as sentient life forms, worthy of moral consideration, but her words only made the situation worse. Min-ji, you are telling us that humans do not even recognize most life forms as real enough to count or consider. This suggests a species so naturally dominant that they can commit genocide without moral awareness or emotional impact. The aliens began discussing immediate withdrawal from all contact with humanity. They had encountered many dangerous species during their expansion through the galaxy, but never anything like this casual relationship with mass biological destruction. Quinara completed her analysis and announced the results to the council with a voice that shook with fear. Based on human population numbers and facility maintenance requirements, their species eliminates approximately 40 trillion individual life forms every single day through routine activities. This number exceeds the total population of most planets in the hegemony. The mathematics were staggering even by the standards of a civilization that had conquered star systems. Humanity represented a form of environmental dominance that made traditional military power seem insignificant by comparison. Commander Kim Do-woo watched the alien ships in Earth's solar system as they began rapid course changes that suggested immediate departure preparations. Min-ji, something is happening with their fleet. They are powering up engines and recalling their research teams. It looks like they are getting ready to leave the system entirely. Dr. Park Min-ji realized that her explanation had not resolved the misunderstanding, but had instead revealed something about humanity that terrified the aliens even more than Lee Tae-ho's original kill count. Lee Tae-ho remained trapped in the alien interrogation chamber as the creatures around him prepared for what appeared to be a complete withdrawal from human space. His simple explanation about pest control and sanitation had somehow made the situation far worse than anyone could have imagined. The truth about human environmental dominance was spreading through the hegemony faster than any weapon or army could have traveled. Within hours, every member species would know about the beings who killed billions of life forms every day without even counting them as real deaths. The revelation was complete, but its consequences were only beginning to unfold. The Hegemony Emergency Council session lasted 18 hours as representatives from 12 species tried to process information that challenged everything they thought they knew about warfare and survival. Mordesh stood at the center of the vast council chamber addressing leaders who had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. His ancient voice carried the weight of 6 centuries of military experience and hard-won wisdom. Fellow warriors, we have encountered something that transcends our understanding of power and threat assessment. This human species does not fight wars as we know them. They reshape entire environments so completely that native life forms cannot survive their presence. The representative of the HFY species, insect-like beings with crystalline exoskeletons, clicked their mandibles in distress. Ancient One. Our analysis suggests that human expansion would result in the complete extinction of most life forms on any world they colonize. Their mere presence creates biological disaster zones where only their preferred organisms can survive. Quinara had not slept since the revelation about Li Teho's kill count. She stood before massive holographic displays showing calculations that defied comprehension. The numbers are beyond our ability to fully grasp. A single human facility eliminates more individual life forms in one day than our greatest weapons destroy in major planetary bombardments. Their entire civilization represents environmental warfare on a scale that makes traditional military power obsolete. The aquatic Telemari representative spoke through their water-filled communication chamber with sounds that resembled whale songs translated into electronic frequencies. We have observed human agricultural systems through our research teams. They transform entire landscapes into simplified ecosystems where only specific crops and livestock can thrive. Native plant and animal life disappears completely from these areas. Vextar had been reviewing every piece of information gathered about human civilization since their first contact 3 months ago. The pattern was consistent and terrifying across every aspect of human society. Their cities are biological wastelands, where microscopic life dies constantly from chemical exposure. Their transportation systems spread sterilizing agents across vast distances. Their industrial facilities create environments so toxic that most known life forms would perish within hours. The plant-based Velthron collective communicated through root networks that allowed them to share thoughts and emotions directly. Their horror at human capabilities resonated through their entire species as a wave of existential dread. The humans do not see microscopic life as real beings worthy of consideration. They treat the elimination of trillions of organisms as routine maintenance rather than mass extinction events. This suggests a mindset so alien to our understanding that meaningful communication may be impossible. The debate continued as each species contributed their analysis and concerns. The consensus was unanimous despite the diverse nature of the council members. Humanity represented a threat unlike anything encountered in hegemony history. Li Teho sat in the interrogation chamber, listening to portions of the council session that were broadcast through translation systems. He struggled to understand why his explanation about cleaning and pest control had caused such extreme reactions. I still do not comprehend why basic sanitation frightens you so much. Every advanced civilization must control harmful microorganisms and maintain clean environments for health and safety. Mordesh entered the chamber alone, having requested private time to speak with the human who had shattered their worldview. The ancient warrior moved slowly, as if carrying an enormous burden. Captain Li Teho, your species has achieved something that warriors like me have sought for centuries. You have become so perfectly adapted to survival that you make every environment unsuitable for potential competitors without conscious effort or moral consideration. Li Teho tried to understand what the alien meant by perfect adaptation. Humans had developed technology to control their environment, but that seemed normal for any intelligent species. We use science and engineering to create living conditions that support human health and comfort. This requires eliminating harmful organisms and maintaining clean facilities, but we do not consider this unusual or threatening. Mordesh sat down across from the human with movements that suggested deep exhaustion. That is precisely what terrifies us, Captain. Your species commits what we would consider genocide on a daily basis, without moral awareness or emotional impact. You have weaponized existence itself simply by living your normal lives. The revelation about human environmental dominance spread through the hegemony communication networks faster than any previous intelligence report. Within hours, every member world knew about the species that killed billions of life forms through routine activities. Panic began building in systems where hegemony forces were stationed near human space. Military commanders requested immediate reassignment rather than risk contact with beings who could eliminate entire ecosystems through casual presence. Scientific research stations began analyzing their own environments to understand how many life forms they eliminated through their operations. The numbers were insignificant compared to human activities, but the comparison highlighted the vast difference in environmental impact. Dr. Park Min-ji and Commander Kim Do-woo watched the alien fleet preparing for departure from Earth's solar system. Every ship was powering engines for immediate jump to faster-than-light travel. Min-ji, they are not just leaving. They are running away as if humanity represents some kind of existential threat to their entire civilization. I cannot understand. What could cause such an extreme reaction? Dr. Park Min-ji had been analyzing the alien communications and behavior patterns, trying to understand their perspective on human activities. Do-woo. I think we accidentally revealed something about human nature that these aliens find more frightening than any weapon or military force. Our casual relationship with environmental control suggests capabilities they cannot comprehend or counter. The Hegemony Council reached their final decision after extensive debate and analysis. The vote was unanimous across all 12 member species despite their different biologies and cultural perspectives. Vextar announced the resolution in formal diplomatic language that would be transmitted to human authorities within hours. The hegemony hereby establishes a complete non-interference zone around all human territories extending 100 light-years from Earth. No hegemony vessel or personnel will enter this region for any reason. Humanity is classified as an environmental hazard requiring absolute isolation protocols. The announcement continued with detailed restrictions that effectively quarantined human civilization from the rest of the galaxy. Any human expansion beyond the designated zone will result in immediate evacuation of all hegemony assets from affected regions. Contact with human representatives is permitted only through automated communication systems to prevent biological contamination. Lee Tae-ho was released from the alien interrogation chamber with formal diplomatic honors, but no real explanation for why his answers had caused such dramatic reactions. The energy field restraints disappeared, and he found himself free to move. For the first time in days, Captain, you will be returned to your people with our highest respect and deepest apologies for the misunderstanding that led to your detention. Please convey to your leaders that the hegemony recognizes human territorial claims and will avoid all contact to prevent accidental conflicts. The alien ships departed from Earth's solar system within hours of the Council decision. They're faster than light. Drives created brief tears in space-time that were visible to human astronomical instruments as flashes of exotic radiation. Dr. Park Min-ji returned to Earth with a new understanding of humanity's unique place in the galaxy. Her report to government, leaders emphasized that humans had achieved something unprecedented in galactic civilization. We have become accidentally terrifying to alien species not because of our weapons or military strength, but because of our casual dominance over biological systems. We reshape environments so thoroughly that other life forms cannot comprehend the scale of our impact. Commander Kim Do-woo briefed Earth Defense Force leadership on humanity's unexpected diplomatic victory through environmental intimidation rather than military superiority. The aliens have granted us complete autonomy in our region of space and promised to avoid all contact with human expansion. We achieved strategic dominance without firing a single shot simply by cleaning our facilities properly. Lee Tae-ho returned to his quiet civilian life, completely unaware that his commitment to proper sanitation and pest control had made humanity the most feared species in the known galaxy. His daily routine continued unchanged, while alien civilizations restructured their entire expansion plans to avoid human territory. The final irony was that Earth's governments spent months preparing for possible alien invasion, while the hegemony spent the same time planning how to stay as far away from humans as possible. Humanity had won its place among the stars not through conquest or diplomacy, but through the simple act of maintaining clean environments where they chose to live.